Hello students, welcome to the last lecture for the chapter 6 in ESD. So in this lecture, in the previous lecture we have studied pulse oximeter and blood sugar measurement. In this lecture we are going to study the next circuit, that is programmable microprocessor based infusion pump. You can say microprocessor or microcontroller based infusion pump. Okay. So what is the infusion pump? Infusion pump is a automatic drug delivery system. So what happens in a modern hospitals? Instead of everything done by the nurses, the automated systems are used. So here, this is the automatic drug delivery system where the patient will be fed with the typical different types of the dose according to the prescription by the doctor. Those doses will be given to the patient periodically. Okay, but this thing is automated. So how to perform this automatically? That for that this infusion pump is used. Okay, so here we can see that this is the heart of the system. You are having a microprocessor and EEPROM, or you can call it as a microcontroller also. Okay, then this microprocessor is connected to the motor driver circuit. Okay, this motor driver circuit will drive the pump mechanism. Typically servo systems are used, servo motors are used for pump mechanism. So what is the purpose of this pump? The pump will perform different things like air detection components, door open detection, empty bag detection, occlusion detection, electro or mechanical detection. All these things are done there. And air detection circuitry, external input detection is done there. Okay, and along with that it is going to perform the different pumping actions. All these things, this detection will be performed on the pump mechanism, and here actually you are going to control the drop rate of the fluid there. Say for example, there will be IV system is used for the patient, where you are giving the saline to the to the patient, and there how much of the drug you have to inject in that saline, such that through IV it is given to the patient. So for that you are using the pumping mechanism. Okay, so you have to control the amount of the drug given to the patient. Okay, you not only you have to control the amount of the drug, but you have to also control the time at which you are going to insert the drug there. Okay, so for that you are also going to have some display circuit there. So what this display will do? It will perform the volume of the infused drug, volume limit and rate, and volume limit and volume rate. All these things are displayed over the display. Okay, and then there are some visual indicators and alarms are also connected to this, which will give us the indication that yes, the drug was delivered. Then there is another separate, so what are the facilities given there? Your system will actually drive the motors for the pump. It will measure the different things related to the pump. Those are given as the input to the system. Then it will display the output on the monitor. Okay, then it will give the visual indicators and alarms for particular things. Say for example, if the drug is to be given 3 times a day, then it will generate the alarm 3 times once the drug was delivered to the patient. So it will give the indication to the nurse that yes, the morning dose is given, yes, the afternoon dose is also given, yes, the evening dose is also given. So for that you can have the alarms as well as the indicators there. Okay, then the another thing is it can also have the malfunction alarm circuitry. Malfunction means suppose there is some problem in the system. Say for example, if the drug is not available in the container, so if the system cannot give the drugs, then it will give the malfunction alarm that the drug bottle is empty, you have to refill it. Like that, you can generate different malfunction alarms. You can allow audio alarm, you can generate, and again you can have the nurse call options also. You can generate, you can initiate any call there, internal PBX call you can generate, so that nurse will approach that particular area of the hospital. So for that, this is the automated microprocessor based infusion pump, that is automatic drug delivery system is present there. Okay, so these things are given in brief in these slides. The microprocessor controls all operator programmable functions and alarm. So what is the job of the microprocessor? It controls the programmable functions and alarm condition sensors. It will check all the alarm condition sensors there. Okay, now there is a pumping mechanism present there. That pumping mechanism is actually driven by a synchronous stepping motor. So it's a stepper motor which is a synchronous one. The synchronous stepper motor is used to drive the pumping mechanism. Okay, then user programmable control is present there. Okay, user programmable control will control what things? The dose volume and the rate at which the dose is delivered. You know, when they are giving you the IV to the patient, they are going to monitor the drop rate. They cannot have a very fast drop rate, otherwise the temperature of the patient will drop down. Okay, and there will be a low BP or something, some type of the critical things will happen. So you have to also control the drop rate for the IV also, similarly for drugs also. So if you are going to give any sedative to the patient, how much sedative you have to give and at what rate you have to give that sedative, that also is to be controlled. That is nothing but the rate at which the dose is delivered. Then it consisting of a flexible 3-chambered cassette. Okay, now why you are using the cassette? Because that cassette will give the precise control over the drug delivery rate, and the volume infused is provided by the mechanical manipulation of the flexible cassette. So by using that flexible cassette, you can exactly monitor how much volume. So how you are going to control the volume and how you are going to control the delivery rate. So that is actually achieved using a 3-chambered cassette. So that cassette will provide us the precise control over these things. The pumping system results in continuous non-pulsatile delivery to the patient. Now this is very important in case of the pumping system. What it avoids is pulsating delivery. So if suddenly any drug is inserted inside the patient body, the patient will react to it, or the patient will have some nausea or some reactions over that drug. So if you are giving the non-pulsative delivery, if you are going to deliver it by a very small flow rate, that is going to be advantageous for the patient. Okay, and the third thing is the pump provides patient safety by monitoring several alarm situations. In such situations, the pump stops fluid delivery. So what will happen? Whenever there is an alarm situation, the pump will stop fluid delivery and it sounds an audible alarm, and it also displays a visual alarm indicator. So that things also you can implement in this infusion pump. So if there is any critical condition, it will not only stop the fluid delivery, but it will also sound the audible alarm there. Now what the display in the pump, this infusion pump used for? Okay, so the first thing the display shows you is the volume that is diffused. Okay, how much volume of the drug is infused inside the body of the patient. Okay, which indicates the cumulative volume which the pump has delivered. Okay, so it will give you the exact how much amount of, say, 10 ml, 5 ml, how much drug is given to the patient, that is given, that is displayed there. Then the second one is the volume limit, how much maximum amount of the dose can be given to the patient is given there. And third is the rate, indicating the rate at which the operator has selected. Okay, so you can program it, user can program it. So nurse will program it by how much rate you can deliver the dose. Now, how the motor is actually working there. So these are some technical aspects about the infusion pump. The motor is operated according to the control program in the microprocessor memory. A 4-phase stepping motor is used with a step angle of 7.5 degrees. So this is a 4-phase stepping motor with step angle of 7.5 degrees and gearbox reduction of 20:1. Okay, due to this reduction, 1920 pulses yield one full revolution of the camshaft in the pumping mechanism. So for one revolution, how many pulses are required? 1920. Okay, why? Because you have to multiply that 7.5 degrees. So 360 degrees divided by 7.5, and again that is multiplied by 20. So that much amount of, that many number of pulses are required for one revolution. Each camshaft revolution and the resulting cycle of the pumping mechanism delivers approximately 2 ml of fluid. Okay, so when you are having 1920 pulses given there, it will give approximately 2 milli fluid. You can see that you can have a very high accurate pulse rate and volume controlled with this much resolution. It is having a very good resolution there. The delivery of the fluid to the patient is non-pulsatile and it is nearly continuous, since each ml is delivered, each milligram is delivered approximately in 960 increments, isn't it? So whenever you are going to have 960 plus 960, you are getting 1920. For 2 milli you are having 1920 pulses. For 1 milli it is having 960 pulses, isn't it? So 1920 divided by 2, that is, it is giving for 1 milli you are having 960 increments. So after 960 increments, that many rotations, you are going to deliver only 1 milli. So you are having a very good control over the delivery of the drug there. Okay, so this is about the programmable microprocessor based infusion pump. Then the next part is the filtering. Okay, so this is one additional part. Actually, there are a number of things present in the signal conditioning circuit for the biomedical instrument, and out of that we will see the filtering. Filters are very much useful to avoid the unnecessary signal coming with your actually measurement quantity. Okay, so what are the different types of the filters? I will just give you the names of different filters. Different filters are used for different applications. Like for ECG, different filters are used. For EEG, different filters are used. For EMG, different filters are used. I am just going to give the names of different filters there. First is the low pass filter, then high pass filter. Low pass filter will pass only the low frequencies. High pass filter will block the low frequencies and it will pass the high frequencies. Band pass, it will pass only the particular band of the frequencies. Band stop filter, it will stop only particular frequencies and rest all other frequencies are passed. So only a particular band of frequencies are attenuated by the band stop filter. Then the notch filter. Notch filter works at a particular frequency. The frequency response of the notch filter is like this. So what happens at a particular frequency, it will provide you a very large attenuation or large amplitude there. So that is the notch filter. And the last type of the filter is the RF frequency filter, which are specifically used for eliminating the radio frequencies. For that, RF filters are used. Of course, these filters can be either analog or digital. You can implement this by using the components there, or nowadays it is mostly done by the digital technique. By using different DSP algorithms, you can implement these filters, and these can actually reduce the noise present in your biomedical signals like ECG, EEG, and EMG. Then another problem with the biomedical instrumentation is electromagnetic coupling. We have seen this problem in the previous chapter also. So what are the methods? We will just cover this one point that is related to the methods for avoiding the electromagnetic coupling. So there are basically three methods used there. First one is the shielding, second is the twisting of the cable, and the third one is the proper grounding. So what is the shielding? So for that, there is one, this diagram is given there. I can show you that there are number of wires are present there. So these are different conductors. Over the conductor you are having the insulator. But over those group of bunch of wires you are having one shield that is called as a foil, and that is followed by a braided shield. Braided shield means those are like a braids. In Marathi we call it as veni. केसांची वेणी जशी घालतो तसं ते they are braiding the different wires there. Okay, metal wires are used, and that braid shield is used there. Okay, to prove for what purpose the shielding is used? It is used to avoid noise pickup from the electrostatic fields. Okay, low level signal conductors are surrounded by the effective shield. So here these conductors are surrounded by the shield so that they will avoid the noise pickup. This is usually a woven metal braid. So this is a metal braid. Metal wires are braided there to form the shield around the signal pair, which is placed under an outside layer of insulation. So above the insulation you are actually using the braided shield there. A more effective shielding is provided by a special type of the cable which has lapped foil shields plus a low resistance drain wire instead of the conventional braided wire shield. So you can have either braided wire or drain wire shield over it. So foil shield is also available. This is called as double shielding is available. This is basically used to avoid the noise pickup for any conductor. Then the second way of eliminating the electromagnetic coupling is twisting of the cable. So here it is shown here. You can see that you might have seen it at your home also, or you might have seen it at the college also. Whenever you are taking the wires there, those are twisted. Those are not twisted to keep them together, but this twisting is another mechanism used to avoid the EMI. What happens is, if they pick up any signal in this twisting of the cable, these signals will be eliminated. Okay, the easiest and generally the best way to protect the signal cable against the external electromagnetic disturbances is to twist the circuit conductors closely together to electrically cancel the effect of an external magnetic field. The shorter the lay of the twist, the greater the noise reduction. So it is like one time if it is connected to, suppose you consider this blue wire and white wire. So at a particular time, if the signal is picked up by the blue wire, at the next time the signal will be picked up by the white wire, because that is coming to the same phase, isn't it? So first blue wires comes in the vicinity of the signal, then white wire, then again blue wire, then again white wire. So both the wires are picking up the signals in the same amount. So what will happen? They will eliminate each other. Okay. So there is a division of the potential difference is measured. So if that common signal is present both on the blue wire and white wire, it will be eliminated. Okay? So this is the second way of avoiding electromagnetic coupling there. Then the third one is the grounding. So you have to do the proper grounding there. What do you mean by grounding? Grounding means actually a low impedance metallic connection. What you are using there? Low impedance metallic connection is used to a properly designed ground grid located in the earth. So you are using one low impedance metallic connection. Stable grounding is necessary to attain the effective shielding of low-level circuits to provide a stable reference for making voltage measurements and to establish a solid base for the rejection of unwanted common mode signals. Okay, so what happens whenever you are using the grounding? It is going to eliminate the common mode signal. Whatever the noise that will be directly grounded, that is given to the earth, and so it will not affect the measurement of the signals in your system. So these are the three techniques. So here you can see that how you can eliminate the multiple grounds. So this is one example given there for the proper grounding. So here the grounding is done, here another grounding is present there. Okay, two different grounds are present here. Now this shield is having this jumper wires present here. This is one jumper wire, this is another jumper wire. So what happens in this case is one loop is formed in this circuit. One loop is formed and the current is circulates through this, and that is going to affect your measurement. So what is happening here? Here one jumper wire is removed. At the recording chassis, this jumper wire is removed there. Okay, so what happens? Now the current is not circulated, and because of that the potential difference is eliminated. Okay, and this way you can have the proper grounding there. There are different techniques you can use there in the circuit which will help you to perform these measurements without any noise effect. Okay. So this completes your biomedical instrumentation. We have covered all the points which are present in the in this chapter. Okay, so students, thank you very much.